Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries. It happens February 20th, 2026, and possible effects on different countries. So what is this Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries? Why is it so important? So 0 degrees of Aries is called the Aries point, or a world axis degree. It's the exact start of the zodiac. It's like the New Year's Day of the entire zodiac. It starts a brand new cycle. It will affect us worldwide. Now, we have not witnessed and experienced this Saturn-Neptune at 0 Aries in thousands and thousands of years. So I feel that no one really knows what exactly is going to happen, but it's a big deal because it's a reset of cycles. We could say reset of countries, reset of finances, reset of everything. When this occurs, Saturn and Neptune will be at 0 degrees of Aries. The houses right now of what I'm looking at do not matter, for the fact that in each country it's going to be different. But when this happens, both Saturn and Neptune will be sextile to Uranus and sextile to Pluto. So while this Saturn-Neptune 0 degrees of Aries will be likely to cause disruptions in many areas of life globally, we also have this harmonious Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, Uranus energy coming in to help to usher in this new energy in a way that is beneficial to people. Saturn and Neptune, I do believe, will cause disruptions everywhere. But again, the Saturn, this sextile with all these outer planets, I feel is going to give this undercurrent of whatever is happening is for the good of the collective. It's making a change for the positive for people. And I feel that people will be looking at the world in a completely different way. So it is very good that this is occurring with these positive outer planets. Mars will be in a square to Uranus. This is sudden action, sudden uprisings, sudden anger, uprisings, protests, sudden shocking news, sudden shocking things occurring. What I could see for this is that Neptune dissolves to take away the fantasies, but it also reveals what is true, what people need to move to. Saturn restructures. So with this Mars and Uranus in the square, I could see this as governments trying to implement things to keep control of power, to keep control of what has been the old, to keep their place of power. Let's see. Uranus will be at 27 degrees of Taurus. This could also be earthquakes and very large earth changes as well during this time, because Uranus does cause earthquakes, does cause solar flares, like a tendency to to rock the planet, to usher in this new global reset, we can say. But people could be also uprising and protesting against different things that governments are trying to, because governments could be trying to hold on to power. People will likely be reactive to these changes all over worldwide. I feel that this is going to be a shocking shift, sudden shocking shift that people are not prepared for, they're not ready for. It's only going to be unexpected, shocking, and quick. But again, we have these positive outer planets that are happening in this sextile that is It's like the light at the end of the tunnel. It's like it's people, it's like it's a destined type of energy. This shift, these changes, even challenges that could occur during this time, it's like people will look at it as it's destined to happen, to bring in more of a positive for the planet. People also could be awakening or thinking in new and different ways. It's very spiritual. It could be these positive outer planet transits as well. Sudden epiphanies, sudden people coming together also is another thing. People coming together for a cause, for the good of the world. Okay, so that's the overall. So now let's move on to countries. When I was looking at this, it's a lot of information to take in. I was a little bit confused on how I was doing it. So what I did was I looked at Saturn and Neptune, what house it was in for each country, if there were any transits happening during that, exactly on that day, and what, who Saturn and Neptune were talking to in the natal chart of the country. There's a lot more to look at. I mean, this is just like the tip of the iceberg, but I needed a starting point to get a overall feel of what the themes could be. Now, this is just the themes that I'm looking at because there's so much in a birth chart that each country we could spend a very long time looking at, analyzing each individual, everything that's going on in the chart. But I wanted to not make this hours and hours long. So that's what I looked at. So China, for the date of birth for China, I have June 15th, 1953. This is when the most recent constitution was made. Beijing, China, 12 a.m. is the time. Saturn and Neptune will be conjunct in Aries in the 8th house. Right here in the 8th house in Aries. Every chart, it's always going to be in Aries for every country, but different houses. 8th house has to do with shared resources, institutional banking, finances, but on like an institutional level, government banking, government finances, not the people's finances, but the finances of the country. This is pretty big. The country's finances could be undergoing some changes, revealing information, perhaps about some corruption of finances in the country itself could be coming to the surface. BRICS is another thing that could be affected by this because some of the BRICS countries that I have here that I looked up, where Saturn and Neptune are, it seems as if the theme is that they could have to go back to the drawing table and redo some things in the BRICS countries for the BRICS to move forward, to come out, to be useful, to have it work with all these countries. So there could be some delays with BRICS, but for China itself, they could have some things come out that have to restructure their finances. Neptune dissolves, Saturn rebuilds, restructures. Funding, debt, secrecy, hidden debts, shadow banking, major reforms and disillusion within the financial sector of China. And if certain things come out, certain secrets are revealed about certain things with China's finances, that will lead to transformation of power within the country of the leaders. There can be some internal control systems or leadership structures that try to tighten before there is dissolving of these finances. Remember, with Saturn and Neptune, before changes will occur, most likely you'll see things, rules, laws, regulations getting stricter and trying to be tighter to hold on to that power that they have. So before there is this financial restructuring, there could be some maybe new rules, new laws, new something put in to try to make things more strict around the finances, trying to hold on to that power. Exposure of secrets, corruption, and intelligence matters may surface. So exposure of secrets is a big deal here because the 8th house does reveal hidden things. It's ruled also by Scorpio, digging deep into the depths of things that are not seen on the surface. So a lot of things could be coming out about China that causes them to have to do this financial restructuring. During this time, Saturn and Neptune will square to natal Mars as this Saturn-Neptune occurs. Now, this is challenging. Obviously, it's a square. Squares are challenging. It's in the 11th house in the sign of Cancer at 0 degrees. China is really going to feel this very strongly. Public unrest will likely be occurring. People speaking out, maybe organizing groups within social media or on social platforms, building a plan for taking action, possibly against the governments. There is unrest, I want to say, in China. China going to war with other countries. Let's back up. This could also be signifying that China will be changing its allies, changing enemies, changing people that it associates with. And there could be some strong tensions within the international associations that they do deal with. Do I see them going to war, though? I see this more of war within the country, with the people fighting against the governments more so. Again, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, and there could be some fights with other countries, but I see this more as an internal war with the people against the governments, because it's in Cancer as well. Cancer is like the domestic home front as well. Okay, I do have BRICS here. Could face tensions, renegotiations, fractures. I don't know exactly what all these BRICS nations have agreed to and what their contracts are with each other, but the restructuring, renegotiating of BRICS could be something that comes up. And perhaps from this, maybe something else comes about. Maybe something different comes about, because remember, this is starting a cycle reset with the whole entire world. What is happening now, what's the systems that we know, everything that is happening could just be totally taken off the table and having to make new systems. That's something else that could happen as well. The chart ruler for China is Mercury. Virgo is where the ascendant is. Mercury is the planet that rules the ascendant. Mercury will be in a square to the MC and the IC. Transiting Mercury will be the 7th house in Pisces. And it's coming to a conjunction with the descendant, so that's why it's squaring the midheaven and the IC. Communication issues within the country. Communication with the people, because it's squaring the IC, the homeland, the home front, and communication issues and tensions with in global affairs as well. Mars will also be opposite to natal Pluto during this time. This is aggressive tension. Secret hidden enemies is also the 12th house. Power grab, a coup of some sort. People within the country, I feel it's more people within the country trying to overthrow the government. But there could be some outside turmoil with some other countries as well, with other partnerships that they have, with different alliances that they have. When Uranus moves back into Gemini, which will be next year, I don't know the exact date, I believe it's in March. That's when the words could start to take action if there are having disagreements with other countries. But with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, I don't see it as fighting with other countries. I see it an internal fight. But it could turn external with a different transit of Uranus entering into this 10th house. So there's no transits to the moon, the natal moon. Although during this time when Saturn and Neptune are conjunct, Chiron will be sextile to the natal sun, and Mars will be trine to the natal sun. That's the country itself. Possibly healing wounds of the country. going to be some sort of action, I feel, in an uprising within China to heal the wounds of the country, to heal the people's wounds, to heal struggles that they've been dealing with for many, 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 many years. Action being taken, the country taking action, but in a positive way. So perhaps China does begin to listen to the people, having conversations or working with the people to change how governments are. But I see this more as an internal fight with the people, conflict, the people of China rising up, fighting back, again, possibly a coup occurring. Russia, I have the date of birth is December 25th, 1999. This is when the Constitution, I'm going by when constitutions were written, because that is the changing of the government, the changing of the rules, laws, regulations, and everything. So it's December 25th, 1999, at 17:45 p.m. Saturn Neptune conjunct in Aries, that's in their 9th house. This has to do with the philosophies of the government, the philosophies, how it looks to the world, foreign allies, other foreign countries that it has associations with. Could be changing allies, could be changing its partnerships with people. The ideologies, the philosophies of the country could be changing on a global level, perhaps possibly having a different global mark or job or view of Russia globally. The people viewing Russia differently, the world viewing Russia differently. And it has quite a few transits happening with it. Mars, transiting Mars, will be square to natal Pluto. The Sun, transiting Sun, will be opposite the Moon, and transiting Venus will be sextile to Uranus. Natal Uranus in the 6th house, and the chart ruler of Russia is the Sun. Okay, so let's go over what this could mean for Neptune and Saturn first. It's happening in the 9th house, has to do with travel, beliefs, higher learning. For a country, it would do with international alliances. How? Expansion of truth, exploration, and what with Saturn and Neptune, structure, discipline, karma, dreams, spirituality, and illusion. Foreign alliances and policies could be changing direction. The global stance in the world, their stance on different policies and different situations could be definitely changing. I see this. International alliances will likely be changing. Issues of treaty sanctions, borders, and international law intensify. International alliances could change due to different treaties, sanctions, or borders, or international laws that happen. Meaning they could go through some challenges with different treaties and different agreements that they have with different countries, pushing them to have different international alliances, shifting their policies on different foreign policies in different direction. Education is another thing here. They could have changes within their education system, within their universities, maybe how they're teaching, perhaps changing how they do universities to college students. Perhaps, I don't know if they have free schooling for universities there, but perhaps they do some kind of radical shift so they allow all people to be able to have the opportunity to attend university regardless of their income, to give them opportunities. Cultural shifts and beliefs and changes. So cultural shifts is a big deal here with Saturn and Neptune. They do now. It could be completely different. I'll use an example. Okay, in the 1960s, they had, flower power and hippies. I'm not saying that's where it's going towards, but some kind of complete cultural shift as to what they do and have now. People could be wanting to break free of different and challenge the societal norms. Breaking the rules of the society could be something. Okay, so Saturn, Neptune are squaring to Russia's natal sun in Capricorn at 3 degrees in the 6th house. This has to do with day-to-day things, health, organization of the countries, daily work of the people. And what, because it's the sun, the identity of the country, the vitality, the purpose of people's daily lives could be changing. So day-to-day systems could be strained. They could be interrupted. The changes that occur within these sectors will likely have an influence on the entire country of Russia. Leadership challenges, stress on authority figures and the national direction. Because it's squaring to the sun, this sun in the chart is the country. So it could be dissolving, I don't want to say dissolving its government, but having large changes within the government, perhaps them changing how they do voting for the next president of the country, something changing radically within the country, especially if there's leadership challenges. I see this as more of them changing how they elect their leaders, who their leaders are, and possibly even changing the power that different leaders do have over the country. But the direction of the nation will also change because of this. Identity conflict, tension between Russia's practical needs and the global ambitions. There could come a point where Russia wants to have a certain stance in different global areas of life, but perhaps it's affecting the people. And they're going to have to find a balance in between the two of those, because they want to take care of their country, but they could be overreaching to other parts of the world, or they could be maybe trying to invest in other places and not investing into the country, which they're going to have to turn around and do in order to have the direction of the country go in a more positive direction. I see this as a definite shift in the country's direction, especially with the international alliances changing, shifting in foreign policies and changes. They could be coming out and the world could be embracing them more. Them going and concentrating on their home front could make the whole world see them in a completely different view. Health and workforce issues. The nation's workforce, health, public, military readiness could face restructuring. I don't know what they do with their health services, their health care, but that could be something that is changing and shifting. I know some countries have free health care for people. I don't know if Russia has that or not. If their workforce is getting older, that could be another reason that the workforce is changing. Perhaps they have to figure out how to get people, younger people, to come into the workforce and take these places. Or they could be even moving more towards AI, and the workforce shifts because of that. Because people are getting older and they don't have people to fill these positions, AI could be coming in, taking a lot of these positions, and therefore the workforce is changing as a whole as to what job opportunities they have. And that would actually go back to education. Perhaps they're changing how they educate, what they teach in universities, because the jobs are shifting and changing. Okay, so the sun. So this is going to hit Russia. This is going to hit all countries. They're all going to feel it in all different ways. With Saturn and Neptune squaring to the natal sun, there's definitely going to be disruptions, shifts, and changes within the government of Russia and leadership itself. I found England to be very interesting for the fact that England and Argentina were two countries that did not have Saturn and Neptune, did not have challenging aspects to natal planets. And I guess I feel it's very interesting for England because England's been around for a long time. And I guess I do feel that some countries do use astrology maybe to plan when their countries were formed and born. Feel like almost like that they were preparing for this time. Maybe they knew that this was going to happen and they wanted to start their country at a time when Saturn and Neptune were having positive aspects to different planets in their chart. That's just a theory, but I do believe that some countries might possibly have used astrology to form, or to know when to form their countries to have the most positive outcome for their countries. England, January 1st, 1801 at 12 a.m. Saturn and Neptune are in the 7th house. This has to do with partnerships, relationships with other countries, relationships with people of their countries. And Saturn and Neptune are trine to natal Jupiter in Leo in the 11th house. And I guess that's what caught my eye, that it's having Saturn and Neptune are having a positive conversation to Jupiter, the planet of expansion and abundance and luck and expanding philosophies. I just found it very interesting that this country, who's been around for a very long time, is having a very positive, Saturn and Neptune having positive conversation with one of the luckiest expansive planets in the chart. And it's in Leo. Leo I associate also with kings, because it does have a monarchy in the 11th house. So this is going to affect their relationships, their partnerships, finding balance within their partnerships, reevaluating different treaties and alliances. International agreements undergo large restructuring. Now, one thing I do want to say about this is I did a video with Crypto Rich regarding King Charles and England and Prince Harry, Prince William. I could see the reevaluation of partnerships, treaties, and alliances occurring, especially if King Charles does step down from being king next year, or even especially before February of next year, because a new king would have make new treaties and alliances based on what they feel is best for the country. Diplomatic idealism versus realism. Okay, so balancing England goals with real world limits and how countries deal with each other. So this is finding balance within the country for the people versus what they want to do on a global worldwide stage. There could be limits to what they can do. I know England does have ownership of different countries around the world. The different countries, Australia, Canada is still, they're independent, but they're still under the rule of the King of England. Possibly them really giving the freedom or not having ownership of all the countries that they have ownership of. Possibly. Legal agreements, rules, and agreements. Changing, they might need to change, and problems could come up in treaties, political partnerships, or trade deals. So again, if King Charles was to step down, abdicate, pass away, then all of this would be looked at. And it's trine to natal Jupiter in Leo at 1 degree in the 11th house. So this is the appearance, the identity, the self of the country of England. Confidence, expression, creativity, and that's how. And what is growth, luck, and wisdom. So opportunities through alliances, supportive relationships with international groups and networks. Project power and ideology through cooperative ventures. Positive reforms, optimism and growth in domestic organizations or global collaborations. Again, I think that if the monarchy was to pass on to Prince William, a lot would change. And I feel people look at him as he's younger, and his ideals and what he wants to do for the country are much different than the traditional ways of a monarchy. So this could also be why people are very optimistic about England. Perhaps they'll fix a lot of the issues, the economic issues that are currently going on now. If Prince William became king, there would be new opportunities with new alliances, new ruler, new leadership, and other countries perhaps coming back to work with England or becoming aligned with England because of the leadership change. Okay, so the ruler of this chart is Venus, and there was no transits to Venus occurring whatsoever. Because some other transits I thought were pretty important to look at. So the transiting moon in Aries at 12 degrees is squaring to the natal sun. In the 4th house, at the bottom of the chart. The moon represents the people in charts. Sun is the rulership, the governments, or could be the king in this case. And the moon is the people. The moon is squaring to the sun. Now, even though Saturn and Neptune are not in challenging aspects to any planets in the chart, the moon is very important. The emotions of the people towards the king, towards the current king, King Charles, could be they are not happy with how things are going. The relationship of the people to the monarchy. Uranus will be in the 8th house during this time. Radical shifts and changes. 8th house does also represent transformation, could symbolize death. 12, and the moon is next to the north node, the people wanting the country to go in a new and different direction. And it could happen suddenly, especially with Uranus in this 12th house as this is happening, this Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries. Changing leaders, changing the partnerships, changing the roles of the partnerships, even within the country. Now, I'm not hoping that anyone passes away, but I could see that a radical shift within the country's leadership with the moon squaring to the sun in the 4th house at the most bottom of the chart and Uranus here in the 8th house. I could see this as a radical shift in the monarchy, a radical change of who is the king. I don't see a financial collapse, though, for England. I know they're having a lot of financial issues at this moment. This is more to do with relationships, partnerships, alliances to the outside world, but also to the actual country. I see this as a leadership change in the country. Canada's chart is very interesting. And that's because it has Uranus on this IC line. The ascendant line, the IC line, descendant line, and the midheaven line. Very, very important in anybody's chart, and especially in countries' charts. It has 2 outer planets on the 2 of these lines. Uranus is on the very bottom of the chart on the IC, and Neptune is in Aries on the ascendant. Saturn and Neptune will be conjunct in Aries in the 1st house. This is pretty powerful. This is changing the identity of the country. And when Neptune conjunct next to the ascendant and to Neptune, I feel that is when there'll be a large cultural shift, cultural shock and change within the identity of the country. This next coming few years could be challenging. There's going to be a lot of changes for Canada, for itself, for what the country is. Yeah, this is going to cause some inner turmoil in the country. When it enters, it's not next to this ascendant line, but as it gets to this ascendant line, Neptune especially, and Saturn, when it moves past it, there will be some, I want to say people are going to want a change in the country. And there could be some fighting within the country or people protesting to get these changes for the country. So Saturn and Neptune are in the 1st house, like I just said. It's the identity of the country that is changing. The government could also be going through some serious changes here. Maybe how the government governs the country. A new leader I could see also coming in. I know they have their elections I believe it's 4 years, but something bigger than that I could see happening within this country. And that could also go into England, because England does rule over different countries or still have some sort of ownership, and that could be maybe wanting to break away completely from England itself. Saturn Neptune will square the moon in Gemini in the 3rd house, the people. Saturn and Neptune, the people. The people are not happy with how things are going in Canada. They want change. They could be voicing their change. They could be voicing their opinions strongly, loudly. It's in the 3rd house, so they will loudly be communicating what they want change in the country of Canada. Chart ruler is Mars. Aggressive communication. Could be some actions taken against the governments of the country to change it. Revealing some illusions about the country or possibly the government. Perhaps there's some corruption in the government, which, I mean, let's face it, what governments don't have corruption? But some sort of secrets especially could be coming out, having to restructure the entire government of Canada. Redefining how Canada presents itself domestically and internationally. New leadership tone, restructuring the government, images, policies, strategic direction, and efforts to act or expand may be slow, disciplined, and idealistic. Now, I don't feel that they're going to want to expand and take over other countries, but expansion maybe of the economy, of different exports that they have. Whatever they're trying to expand upon could be slow for the time being due to the leadership changing, restructuring, the government, the whole entire government restructuring and changing. I see that occurring. Saturn, Neptune squaring the moon, Gemini, 28 degrees, the third house. This is the people, the communities of the country, people coming together. They're not happy. Public mood tension. Citizens feel unsettled, confused, emotionally reactive to what is going on due to this restructuring of the government. The people could be forcing the restructuring of government. Communication challenges, media information, local connections could create fiction. There could be propaganda is something else here that could be coming out. So whatever information comes out that is revealed, that is uncovered, perhaps there could be these propaganda campaigns that come out to try to get rid of these situations or brush them under the rug, but the people are not going to deal with that. Practical decisions and visionary goals clash with popular sentiment. Again, this goes along with government. Government, I see it changing for Canada in a big way, especially when Neptune is conjunct to natal Neptune in the ascendant, and Saturn, when that's conjunct to the natal Neptune and the ascendant, especially that could be really when it starts. And that will be next year, and I don't know when it will be next year, because Saturn moves quicker than Neptune. And Mars is the ruler of this country, so I could see the people taking the actions. They're tired of things. They're not putting up with it. They're done. Lilith does square natal Mars during this Saturn-Neptune conjunction, and the Sun is opposite to natal Mars. So action taken, people rebelling is something that we could start to see to change the government, to get the changes that they want, to have the restructuring of the government, of the country, of the government. Canada becoming the 51st state. That if that is part of the expansion of Canada, if that was to occur, it would not happen overnight. There would be some delays with that. It would take more time, I think, and be a little bit more complicated than people think. And again, if that was to occur, I feel it would be the people who would be pushing possibly for that, or for the restructuring of the government of the country itself.